Good morning, everyone. It's right at 11 o'clock. We're going to get started with our MFIN webinar for the week. So today I'm with Harris Jones, our Director of Operations at Rehab Wallet. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how to mitigate risks inside a debt fund. And we're going to go over a few key points. One is preventing inappropriate use of funds. We're going to talk about how location is just the key to any success of a debt fund. And we're going to talk about strategies to minimize foreclosures. And then we're going to kind of round it up with some tips for dealing with any slow demand that we might have. Before we get started, I wanted to kind of go over and show you our team. You know, this team behind us is the integral part of the success of Rehab Wallet. I am honored to be standing to the right of Dan Handford and Danny Randazzo as a partner of Rehab Wallet. My name is Kelli Garrett. I'm the managing partner of the debt fund and of Rehab Wallet. I've been in the lending business now for over 2 decades. I am a passive and active real estate investor in, I don't know, like 22 deals, 3,500 units. Been in the real estate business for a long time. I'm married, been together now for 23 years. And live in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, except today, Charleston not quite as beautiful. We're getting hit pretty hard with Tropical Storm Debbie. So lots of rain today, but we're getting through it with good internet and good power today. So I hadn't had anything pop off yet. You just never know during a tropical storm. The pros and cons of living in the coast or on the coast. So the team, obviously, the people below us is, I can't speak enough about them. They're all the way from marketing all the way to loan origination. So we got a lot of people that are behind us keeping this debt fund and this Rehab Wallet on the borrower side successful. A few stats that I want to go over to kind of explain a little bit about Rehab Wallet. We started in June 2020 with one loan, $153,000 loan in Charleston, South Carolina. And now we're after 4 years, we've done 1,619 loans. So we're super proud of that. The capital we have now in the fund is right at 90 million. We've raised, I think, a little over 150 million. The amount of capital that has funded these 1,619 loans is $331 million. So we're very proud of these numbers, but I'm as proud or more proud of the last stat, which is our borrower rate. Our return borrower rate is now at 85%. That means we're doing something right. That means the team that we showed you guys on the previous screen is knocking the socks off in service to our borrowers, and they're returning. So this is a key component and a key stat to our success. So talking about success, and one of the people that have brought has been an integral part to Rehab Wallet success is Harris Jones. So Harris was #1 employee, meaning we hired her first. She's a big reason why we have all the processes. Anybody that's had a startup can understand how hard it is to start a business. So Harris, appreciate everything that you've done. I want you to take us into those first two key components that we talked about in the first slide. Introduce yourself, but before you do, I want to remind everybody to please, if you have any questions during this presentation, it'll be about 35 minutes, to type your questions in that chat box, and we will get to those questions at the end. So Harris, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll move forward.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name is Harris Jones. I am the Director of Operations here at Rehab Wallet. And I, as Kelli mentioned, was the very first hire that came on when we started in June of 2020. So I am traditionally skilled in software development. My background is in software. I went to Clemson University after growing up in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville to be specific, and I studied computer science and graduated, went to work in the field in software development. And then Kelli recruited me in June of 2020, and she knew I was very detail-oriented and that my algorithmic brain would get us off the ground with this business. And so I came on that year, and I have been passively investing in real estate and actively investing in real estate myself since that time. So I'll go ahead and get us started with the first point of how we mitigate risk in our debt fund and preventing inappropriate use of funds. Primarily, this is in the draws department. So all of our team collectively together, we have multiple decades of experience, whether it's in commercial buildings, whether it's in short-term rentals, whether it's in long-term rentals. But a lot of us have experience in our bread and butter, which is fix and flip lending, right? So collectively, we know what to look for. We know how the project should go, and we know how to monitor that as it progresses. A lot of people, when they hear fix and flip loans, they might think about what a conventional renovation loan might look like. Typically, they'll give you 50% up front, or they'll supply the contractor deposit, or they'll pay for the materials up front. Rehab Wallet does not do that. The way that we look at this is you must show completion of the items before we will then reimburse you for the money that you have spent on the project. Therefore, we require a detailed scope of work at the very beginning before we even fund the loan. They must tell us exactly what they're doing to that loan, to that project, and then that will help us determine the after repair value for that property. And then once we figure out the after repair value, we then determine what our loan amount is going to be, and we ensure every step of that scope of work and line item on that scope of work is completed as it should have been in order to get us to that after repair value for that property. We also require that they provide proof of completion specifically with time and location stamps. So we want to make sure that they are showing us the exact property that we were originating the loan on. We want to ensure that the time that they completed it is relevant to where we're reviewing now. And then if there are any changes, we all know that fix and flip loans, they kind of skew and they go off course a little bit, and you have to correct. You might open a wall and you might find something behind the wall that you have to take care of, right? So we know that these renovations are going to shift a little bit, and we're okay with that as long as it does not affect the after repair value of the property. If it does, we always get it evaluated by a third party. We want to ensure that our loan is not going over that threshold for our LTV maximum. So that's how we prevent inappropriate use of funds, specifically in the draws department, to mitigate risk. The second is location is key. Most investors, they want to invest in their backyard, and a lot of investors want to invest virtually as well, but your backyard is key. Most of our employees and team members, they're from South Carolina, and 50% of our loans are in South Carolina. So we know what to look for in these markets. We know where these markets are headed. So in addition to investing in your backyard, third-party appraisals or broker pricing opinions. We always order an appraisal or a broker pricing opinion. Now, Rehab Wallet is very fast-paced, so what you would traditionally see is an appraisal. We order the BPO, and that BPO is going to be a little bit more quick to come back, and it's still performed by an expert in that market. So they'll go out, they will look at the property in person, they will take photos of it, they will run comparables, and then we also obtain interior as-is photos of the property as well. And that way we can ensure that that after repair value based on the scope of work is going to be what we expect it to be. In addition, if it's not in our backyard, as I've mentioned, we do have a maximum threshold for our loan to value. So if it's in a market that we're maybe not as familiar with, for example, we've done a lot in Ohio recently, but we have experts in Ohio who know what to look for in those areas. And if we ever had to take a property back, which we have a great track record of not having to do that, but if we ever had to do that, we have that LTV that gives us the spread so that we can actually take that property back, make a profit on it, and then put it off into another investor's lap if we need to, or flip it and put it back on the market ourselves. So we have that spread if we need to. So in terms of mitigating risk, location is key, and I'll pass it off to Kelli so that she can go through the next two points.
Sounds good. All right, now we're gonna, she talked a little bit about foreclosures or taking a property back. So let's talk about that if we needed to take a property back. So how can we minimize foreclosures? I am, again, super proud of this stat. We have, I mentioned earlier, we had 1,619 loans that we've completed since inception of June of 2020. And we have taken back 3 properties of those 1,619 loans. So that tells us that we're doing a good job on the front end. And more so than that doesn't mean that just 3 of our borrowers have had problems. That means that we've worked hard and actually fixed it before it became a problem. So a few of these key talking points is we're going to focus on return borrowers. I told you earlier that we have 85% of our borrowers are return borrowers. We're going to focus on those people. Those borrowers have proven themselves that they're going to make their payment on time, that they're going to complete their work in our 6 to 9 month term. Remember, we're 6 to 9 months. We're bridging some gap. They're going to purchase it, they're going to rehab it, and fix and flip this thing, or refinance us out in 6 or 9 months. So we're gonna lend back to our return borrowers as much as possible. And again, super proud of that 85% of our borrowers come back to us. We added a director of compliance about 2 years ago, and Amanda Myers brings a ton of experience in just getting things done. A great communicator with our borrowers. We're fixing things before it becomes a problem. So she'll do things like a wellness check. And let me explain a little bit about that. So let's say what Harris was talking about as far as our draw schedules. If if our borrower is buying a property, going to rehab it, and let's say they have a $50,000 rehab, well, we hold that rehab back and we deliver those funds out in draws. But let's say this was a 6-month loan and they're in month 3 and have not taken their first draw yet. Well, something's going on, right? We know that they're not going to complete this $50,000 rehab in 5 months, get it under contract, and let that end retail buyer close in 30 days. So get in and out of their loan in 6 months. So something's going on. So we'll do a wellness check and ask them, hey, what's going on? Maybe their permits got hung up. Permit, I flipped myself for 18 years. So I know that things go on. Like a permit, you expect to come back in 2 weeks, takes 2 months. Things happen. Crawl space, you expect it to be clean, and you don't know what you don't know till you get in the house and really start working on it. Like Harris said, open up a wall and find termites. You just never know. So we're going to do some wellness checks on these borrowers to see what's going on. And we got the right person in the right seat to do that as a director of compliance. And that just, proactively monitors any default issues. We're going to see that before it becomes a problem. That's why I feel like we've been able to hit this threshold of just having 3 defaults come back to us and us having to kind of deal with them and put them back on the market and sell them. We want to solve the problem before we have to go to foreclosure. So let's say, give it another example. Let's say that we have a borrower that just is a 6-month loan and something happens in their life. Guys, we've done 1,619 loans and we're just getting started. So there's 1,619 families, people, individuals that are going to have problems and life events. Let's say that a borrower has a death in the family. His focus is not going to be on this flip. So what we might have to do is, if he gets behind on a payment or if he just gets behind on his draws, we're going to call him and introduce him or her to another borrower in our network. And we're going to let them lock arms and finish that project out together. We have fixed a lot of problems prior to going to foreclosure. The culture of Rehab Wallet is just building strong relationships. I have built my 3 decades now career on relationship currency, and we will continue to do that, do the right thing, show up at these real estate investment meetups, and build relationships so we can continue to minimize foreclosures. We want to be more than just a bank. We're not a bank. We're not a bank. A bank sees numbers. We see relationships. Moving into the last kind of key point here, we're going to talk about some tips for dealing with slow demand. Now, Rehab Wallet has not faced the slow demand yet, and I'm going to jump to the fifth talking point here, because we work hard. We work really, really hard in ensuring we don't have a slow demand. Every single week, somebody at Rehab Wallet is at a real estate investment group somewhere, whether it's Charlotte, North Carolina, or whether it's in Raleigh, North Carolina, or whether it's in Charleston, South Carolina, Greenville, wherever it is, we're at an investment group somewhere representing Rehab Wallet with our Rehab Wallet swag on, talking about Rehab Wallet. We're so out there that that we're not going to have a slow demand. That's on me. That's on me. I am the managing partner of the borrower side of this business. That's on me if we have it. Again, I flipped for a long time. I've been around for a long time. I'm ingrained in this fix and flip community on purpose. Danny Randazzo had a breakfast group for many years. 20 or 30 people came to that investment group every single morning or twice a month at 7:30 in the morning. I own and facilitate a very large investment group meetup that we meet every week. So we're going to go, Rehab Wallet's going to go where our avatar, where our borrowers are, that's where we're going to go. And so we're going to work hard at that. We're also going to, as I talked about, increase our attendance and sponsorships. Not only do we attend them, but we sponsor these real estate investment groups. We have our booths. We have our flagships. We have everything with our employees there, with all of our Rehab Wallet gear on, letting them know what Rehab Wallet can do for them. We're going to, if we have a slow demand, if that happens, we're going to increase our social media posts. We have an amazing social media team, marketing team, passiveinvesting.com. Melissa Broom, her staff is instrumental in ensuring that we get these social media posts consistently out there. We're going to be on podcasts and webinars and stages talking about Rehab Wallet. That's the reason why we have not had a slow demand yet, and I expect that we won't have it in the future. Recently, we added a loan originator because we're going to add them when needed. So we added a rock star originator in Charlotte, North Carolina, Susie Balda. She lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's at probably an investment group meeting right now, if I had to guess. She's constantly on the road, sponsoring an event, making sure that now up that 95 corridor that Rehab Wallet has a presence up toward Charlotte, North Carolina, up toward the Greensboro, anything close up that way. We're going to actually move I guess, Rehab Wallet's presence up that way. So when we need more loans, we just will add people, good people represent Rehab Wallet. Last but not least, let's just go old school for a minute. We're going to deliver exceptional customer service every day. It's a huge piece of our success. Our managing director, Angela Dunn, kind of throws a key phrase out there that we're going to knock your socks off. And, every once in a while, we'll just get this picture on our Teams chat thing with socks laying on the floor. So that just means we knocked somebody's socks off today. We're going to continue to do that. Let's go back to what got us started and start our success. And then because that's just literally doing what other people won't do. And that's answering our phones. We're going to deliver customer service that's exceptional. We get so many fallouts because another lender hasn't done their job. They hadn't showed up to closing with funds, which is super scary. They haven't, they denied a loan the day before closing. They're not on time. They won't answer their phone. All these things that are just easy customer service things that I feel like will help us if we do have a slower demand moving forward. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think we're going to move with that problem. And if so, we'll just add some employees to our org chart. So that kind of sums this up, Harris. You got anything else you want to add before we jump to some questions?
No, let's go ahead and jump in it. We've got 3 so far in the queue. One. Yeah, absolutely. So the first one on here, are the loans based on the current purchase price of the house or improved value? The answer to that is both. So we have a threshold for the purchase price. It must be no more than 90% of the value of the house as it sits right now. And then it's based on the after repair value for the renovation in addition to that. So 90% LTV for purchase price to as is, and then after renovation value is based on that 70% that I mentioned earlier.
I'm going to add something to it real quick. We charge interest from day one, whether they have if they take the draw or not. So remember, we're going to hold back, even though the loan amount, let's say, is 100,000, they put down 10,000. They might have 30,000 in a rehab that we're holding back, and we're kind of controlling that. So that 90% on the front end as is doesn't concern me because we're holding back that rehab, but we are focusing the BPO on a after repair value that we get from that BPO.
All right. Next one, also while making improvement on the house, if the borrower uncovers some major problem like mold, foundation, etc., and that plummets the value of the house, what do we do from there? So I can take that one. We don't do loan modifications. Whatever our loan is up front, that's what our loan is going to be throughout the whole process. We also vet our borrowers. They must be experienced. We don't lend to new borrowers, new investors. So they almost always catch things like this up front. They will get their quotes from their contractors and make sure there's no mold or foundation issues before they go in to purchase that house. If for some reason this does come up or it was behind a wall and they weren't aware, that then becomes a self-funded portion of the renovation. And we actually make them absorb that self-funded portion throughout the process of the rehab. So let's say the self-funded portion was going to be 30%. So we would only fund 70% of each of their draw requests in order to make sure that they're putting in their money to self-fund and the work to self-fund as it goes through that process. Then when we get to that last draw, they're getting the remainder of the renovation budget sent to them when we know 100% that work is complete, fully completed. I hope that answers the question. Kelly, you have anything to add to that?
That's good. That's good.
Next one, I'll let you take this one, Kelly. Is there any proactive actions for minimizing risk for bank failures? Many banks are currently under stress and possible failure.
You know, we get busier when the banks get tighter, and with this debt culture that we're in right now, this debt environment that we're in right now with the banks, right? They're saying no to a lot of things. Remember, there's a bunch of us on our team that we're in deals, right? We're doing our own commercial deals and multifamily deals, and we're investing as an LP. So we're hearing the same thing that you are about what's going on with the banks. If you want to call us, we're not a bank, but let's say I'm trying to get in your head for a minute as far as like the failure. Because I can't even imagine us failing that far where our investors will have a problem, right? Because let's say we had to take back a lot of properties. That's one thing that a lot of investors ask me about. And so let's say we had to start taking back some properties. Let's say the market makes a turn, and even though we got 70% after repair market today, remember, we're only in these loans 6 to 9 months. So the market can't change a ton in 6 to 9 months. I was around in 2008, 9, and 10. I know how fast the market can change. However, we'll be able to see it and get out of it before we give it a lot of time because of our loan terms are so short. All right. So if I had to start taking back a bunch of properties, I will just open up another division inside Rehab Wallet called real estate owned. Remember, if anybody was around in 2008, 9, and 10, banks opened up an REO division, real estate investment. I don't know what it stands for, owned. So it was bank owned properties. That's what will happen. We have time to wait out. If I had to take them back, rent them for a little while until the values come back, that's what I do. We've been in this business. A lot of us are super comfortable in that world. And I would just bring on a director to run that department until the market comes back. I have something in my office because I have a little PTSD from 2008, 9, and 10. And it says that a recession lasts 14 months. Even though when you're inside of a downturn of a market, you think that thing lasts 14 years, but it only lasts 14 months. And the come up is 47 years. Sorry, 47 months. So a recession is shorter. We think it's going to last a long time. But so my thing here is that how can we just hold on until the market comes back up? And we've got plans to do that if we have to start taking some properties back. But fortunately, we've only had to take back 3 deals in 1,619 loans, and we'll continue to work these problems prior to that happening. But you know, failures, we're not a bank, so we're not, you know, we're not organized that way. We can do some different things that a bank can't do. Working within our guidelines of our PPM. Remember, we're in first lien position only. So we don't have a bunch of second liens out here. And we're loaning out at 70% ARV in a very short term lending time.
All right. Another one. Will you extend the hold period if anticipated disposition falls in a down market?
The hold period, if a dispo is in a down market.
Go ahead.
I'll jump in. I think that, and again, we can be nimble. That's the greatest thing. When you have your own debt fund, right? We're raising money every day. We're following a PPM. But the PPM's guidelines is based on what the general partners, what our decisions, the decisions that we make is going to be the best for our investors, because we're going to be the best stewards of our investors' money. That's what I wake up every day. Somebody asked me the other day, you know, who do you work for? Instead of me saying I'm self-employed and I own my own company, I said I work for investors. I work for investors. That's really who we work for every day. And so the downturn could happen. But the dispo side, if we had to move it from 6 to 9 months and move it into a year, we could. Every loan has a choice. Every borrower that comes in our application has a choice. They can click that they can get in and out in 6 months. Remember that anybody here that's flipped, that is quick. That is quick. So then about 2 years ago, we started offering a 9-month loan because the days on market started increasing some. So we got a 9-month loan that we charge more interest if you want a 9-month loan. Can we extend to a year? Obviously we can. And what happens sometimes if they can't get in and out in 6 to 9 months, they can extend it. They just have to pay an extension fee. We don't go into default immediately if they can't dispo in 9 months. We just go into an extension. So they pay a fee for another 3 months. And if they need another 3 months, of course we give them. We're not here to lend to own. That's not our model. And I don't think any debt fund is set up that way. So I hope that answers your question. Harris, you want to add to that?
No, I think you answered that perfectly. I was interpreting that the same way you did. The next question, you mentioned draws. Can you give an example of how draws work? I'll be happy to take that one. So draws, most of our loans are fix and flip. We do offer bridge loans as well, but most of our loans are fix and flip. So the fix and flip process with draws, the way that functions is, as I mentioned earlier, we request a very detailed scope of work from the beginning before we fund the loan. That determines the after repair value of the property, and then we base our loan amount on that. So once we close, we fund that loan, we then wait for the borrowers to get the work started. We also monitor if borrowers have not gotten the work started within a certain period of time. Typically, that's within 45 days. If they haven't sent in a draw request within 45 days, we're following up. As Kelli mentioned, we're doing that wellness check on them to see what's going on. So what they'll do is they'll send in a draw request. And in this virtual world, our draw process is virtual. So they will send us proof of completion. That will be through time-stamped and location-stamped photos, videos to show us the work that they have completed on that property. We also have a very detailed draw tracker for our borrowers to use, which is a huge benefit to them. They can tell us exactly what they've completed on their scope of work, what percent to completion for that line item it is, and then we will review that draw request. We will then determine if they have completed what they've stated they've completed based on the information that we've been given and the photo and video evidence that we have been given. And then if we feel they have provided supporting evidence of their completion, we will then fund that draw. Our draw process is so much more efficient than other renovation lenders in the business, and that's why our borrowers love us. We are very quick to be on that draw, reviewing it, and making sure that we are A, being good stewards of our investors' money, but B, making sure we're giving great customer service to our borrowers as well. Kelli, you got anything to add to that?
That's great. Wonderful.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
The last one on here is going back to the question that you answered earlier about banks. My concern is banks holding the funds if they fail.
Got it. Now I get you, Stephen. Obviously, we're a great customer to our bank, and we bank at First Citizens, and we're in sweep accounts, so our money is not anything, what, $250,000 is what the FDIC insured, and we got a lot more than $250,000 because we're doing, we'll do 133 million this year. So of course we have a lot more than that in left in the account at the end of the business day. So we've definitely, we get good customer service from First Citizen. They put us in these sweep accounts and they sweep all that money out. And if you know anything about that, to ensure that we stay in that threshold of being FDIC insured. So if they were to fail, we don't have a problem with that. So we feel certain, and especially after what happened recently with some bank failures, we were already proactively ready for that prior to that, but that's kind of just put a little feather in a hat to remind us that it can happen. But all those funds are in a safe place and in those sweep accounts every single night to ensure that that we're in compliance with all that. Good questions, guys. I appreciate everybody's questions. We're now about 30 minutes in, 32 minutes to be exact. I thank everybody for joining us today at this MFIN Investor Nation webinar. Everybody have a great day. If you need us for anything at Rehab Wallet, obviously you can email us at info@rehabwallet.com. Go to rehabwallet.com, look at our website, go to passiveinvesting.com and look at the website, go to multifamilyinvestornation.com. Check all these websites out. If you got any more questions, just please give us an email or give us a call. Thank you guys so much for your participation. See you later.